Thanks for joining us for another edition of The Small Business Show with Jim Fitzpatrick, exclusively on ASBN.com.
Hey everyone, Jim Fitzpatrick. Thanks so much for joining us this morning. Personal branding has become a tool for business leaders to stand out and establish credibility, especially in a world that's constantly changing. Today we're sitting down with Adam Witty, who is the founder and CEO of Advantage, the authority company. Advantage Publishing Group comprises namesake Advantage Books and Forbes Books. Witty is also the author and co-author of 8 books, including his latest, The Authority Advantage, Building Thought Leadership Focused on Impact, Not Ego, and has appeared in USA Today, Investors Business Daily, The Wall Street Journal, ABC, and Fox. Thanks so much for taking the time out of your schedule, Adam, and joining us on the show today.
Jim, it's my pleasure to be with you.
Sure. So let's jump right in here. For those that are not as familiar with you as we are here at the show, tell us a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah, well, like probably many of your viewers, I started with an idea, not a lot of money in my pocket, and a lot of persistence. And so I had spent 2 years when I was in high school as an intern working for a book publishing company of all things. And what I absolutely thought I might hate, I ended up actually falling in love with. And a mentor of mine was a very well-known business leader, and he had written a number of books that kind of made him famous. And he came to me, we were having lunch, he was the mentor, I was the mentee, and he said, Adam, you need to start a publishing company for CEOs and entrepreneurs and leaders. Because when the CEO writes the book on that topic, everybody sees them as the expert,
That's right.
The go-to person.
That's right.
And with that encouragement, I started Advantage Media at the age of 23 in 2005. And, some 19 years later, here we are. And we've grown just a little bit.
That is fantastic. Everyone that is watching right now feels as though they'd like to write a book too, to help in so many different areas, especially in the area of branding and making themselves the authority in whatever industry that they're in, which there's no better way to do that than I think to start with a book. But so many people will say, I don't know, I'm not really a writer, but I got all of these great ideas and I've got this great story about my journey in business and how I succeeded and what have you. Talk to me about that, because I know that your company will actually help write the actual book, right?
Yeah, whenever I speak, Jim, I always ask the audience, how many people in the room have read a book that's changed the direction of their life? And most people will raise their hand.
Yeah.
And then I'll ask the question, how many of you know something or have a story or have knowledge that could help someone else change the direction of their life? And most people will raise their hand and say yes to that question too. And so to your point, most people, they've got the ideas, they've got the content up here, but they're not writers. They don't like to write. And they certainly, in most cases, don't have the time to write.
Yeah.
And so we have a process where we can help any business leader create a book. We pair a writing partner with them. Some people call them ghostwriters, but this is really your writing Sherpa who will spend time with you all over Zoom. So you can do it from anywhere in the world.
That's great.
And they will get that content out of your head and they'll turn it into a beautifully constructed book that when your spouse reads it, they'll say, oh my God, this sounds like you. And it does sound like you because it's your words, it's your content, it's your stories. You're just using the professional help of someone who writes for a living to get those stories down in paper.
That's right. And I think so many people sit in front of their computer and go, oh my gosh, where do I start? How do I do? I've never done this before. What are the guidelines? So I would imagine that having that advantage with your writer standing right by you there, maybe through virtual Zoom or what have you, is just a tremendous benefit, right, to your clients.
Well, we always say, Jim, begin with the end in mind.
Yeah.
And whenever somebody is thinking about a book, I will always ask the question, what problem are you trying to solve for? And who is your audience? And, I use the analogy, you have to bait the hook to suit the fish, not the fisherman.
Yeah.
A lot of people that want to write a book, they want to write a book that they want to write. But you really need to create a book that your audience wants to read.
Yeah, good point. Good point.
And that's a mistake that many people will make.
Yeah, yeah. And you just mentioned to me that your company has done just 200 books in the last year alone. It's been a great year. But so you guys have got that expertise, so to speak, that says, here's what you want to do. Here's what you want to do more of. Here's what you want to stay away from. If this is your goal, to become an authority in your area and to be called upon to speak at different organizations and to make a difference and an impact in others' lives, here's what you need to focus on. And so many people need that coach in their corner, right? That can steer them in the right direction on something like this, right?
Well, that's right. Most of the people we work with have never written a book before.
Right.
So if you've never done it before, where in the world do you start?
Sure.
And that's where you need a coach. One of the things that I tell leaders all the time is I say, people buy people. They don't buy corporations.
Yeah.
And even if you're the CEO of a business, they're buying you as much as they're buying that corporate logo on the front door.
Yep.
And leaders have to invest in their personal brand. And when they do that, their personal brand will create tailwind for their corporate brand.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And look, Jim, it doesn't have to be a book, right? It could be a podcast. It could be a blog. Mm-hmm. It could be being very active and engaged on social media where your audience is. The point is that if you want to build your business, building your personal brand and being seen by your prospects and your customers as an authority, as a thought leader, it's only going to help you and it's only going to help your business.
Yeah, there's no question. Talk to us about some of the key elements for an effective personal and building an effective personal brand. And obviously a book is one of them, right? But there's got to be some others.
Yeah. So, when I speak, I will ask the audience the question and I will ask your viewers this question. They can answer it in their head as we're talking. If I Google your name, what will I discover? And the answer for most people, Jim, is I will find nothing. You are an absolute ghost. And what we have to remember is every consumer, whether you're buying an automobile or whether you're buying furnishings for your home, every consumer will typically start their buying journey online.
Yeah.
And they go one of three places. They go on Amazon, they go on YouTube, and they go on Google.
Yep.
And those are the three largest search engines in the world.
Yeah.
And so if you don't have what we call a digital footprint, if there isn't stuff that people can find out about you, they're on to the next person or on to the next company.
That's right.
So being discoverable online and then having good things for people to discover is very important. And you can have control over that.
Right.
You can intentionally create content, create media that is then discoverable through search online that builds your personal brand and makes you the go-to person that folks want to work with.
Boy, there's no question about it. I can't tell you how many conferences I've been to and seminars where the speaker is introduced and it seems to me, it's always the person that wrote the book on X. And right away, it gets the attention of the audience to say, well, if this guy wrote the book or this young lady wrote the book on this particular topic, I'm all ears. I mean, it's instant credibility with that audience when they are the author of a book on that particular topic, right?
We like to say you can't spell the word authority without the word author.
That's good.
And
there you go.
It's true. It's true. It creates a platform for authority better than anything else.
Yeah, for sure. Let me ask you, because I know that the people that are watching are going to ask, how long of a process is it from the time somebody calls you, Adam, and says, hey, I want to write a book. I've made this. This has been on my to-do list. I want to get it done in 2025. From that phone call to the time they're holding their incredible book that you've helped them write, what are we talking about? Is it a month? Is it 6 months? Is it a year?
Yeah, so to do it really well, and that's to be very intentional, That's to craft an incredible manuscript, writing the book.
Sure.
And then that's creating a marketing and a promotional plan and program for the book.
Right.
So you might have some success promoting and selling that book. It's about a year.
About a year?
If you really want to do it right.
Right, right. And for those of you that just heard that, if you wait, it's going to be even longer. So if this is on your to-do list, as I think it should be if you're running a company, even if you're not running a company, but you're in business and you've got some lessons that people can appreciate and you've got a voice out there and you want to play a bigger role and build your brand, there's no better way to do it. You don't have to be the CEO of a company or the founder of a company in order to do just that. I know we've interviewed a number of people here at the show where they worked within a company, but they wrote a book on a particular topic. And guess what? Lo and behold, not only did it do great for their career, but it did great for their after career. They retired early and they went on to an incredible speaking career because of that first book that they wrote. And it seems to me that everybody that writes a book, guess what? There's another book they want to write right behind. Is that a true story? Is that a true statement, Adam?
That is so true. And when you think about it, who do you want to do business with? You want to do business with people you know,
right,
you like, and you trust.
Right.
And when you build your personal brand, you become more knowable and discoverable online. You become more likable.
That's right.
And people trust you more.
Yeah.
And so this whole idea of building your personal brand and building your authority, it's really all about creating a bigger platform for you and for your company.
That's right. That's right. What are the common mistakes that leaders, from your perspective, that leaders will make when trying to establish their personal brand?
Yeah. So the first thing that I would tell you is, number one, they don't really have an end goal in mind.
Okay.
They might come to us and they say, I've been told that I should do this. This makes a lot of sense. And we'll say, well, who's your audience and what's your core message?
Right.
And they'll look at us and say, I don't know.
Yeah.
Now, we can then ask questions to get those answers.
Sure.
But the first mistake that you want to fix is know who you're for and know what you're for.
Right.
And that is that, what is the topic that you want to be an expert on?
Sure.
And who is the audience that you want to serve?
Yeah.
Right. And I'll give you an example. A lot of your viewers are in the automobile industry. One of my favorite books, it was written many, many years ago, but a very famous car dealer. His name was Carl Sewell.
That's right.
And Carl loved providing great service.
Yeah.
And he did such a good job at it. He created a book which was titled Customers for Life.
That's right.
And so what did Carl want to be an expert at? Service, providing great service. And then who was his audience? Many of his car dealerships were luxury brands.
Yep.
So a lot of his customers were business leaders.
That's
they
right.
were executives. They were entrepreneurs. They were business owners, which just so happen are interested in the topic of service.
That's right.
Because they lead companies. And so, Carl Sewell very brilliantly was able to determine who's my audience and what's my expertise, what's my message.
That's right.
And he wove them together in a way that it benefited his automobile dealerships.
That's right.
In an incredible way.
Yeah, I saw Carl speak a number of times, and he, within the automotive industry, he really became that thought leader in the area of customer experience and customer service. And everybody wanted to have him speak at their conferences and conventions and luncheons and what have you. And he did very, very well with the book, and it instantly made him really the authority, one of the original players out there in the area of customer experience for the retail automotive industry, which was very interesting. So, yeah.
An example for everybody to look at and possibly emulate.
That's right. That's right. So for the people that are out there listening that think, hey, I know I got a book in me, or maybe you don't necessarily know if you have a book in you. Can they give you a call, Adam, and say, hey, can we have a 5-minute chat and let me pick your brain a little bit, because I think I might have a book, I might have an idea, I might have a concept for a book. So and kind of say, what do you think? You think there's something here for your team to work on and can put in the way of a book form?
A lot of our phone calls begin exactly that way.
Okay.
I think I've got something. I've been told I should turn my story into a book. I've kind of been dreaming. I've been dreaming about this for a lot of time.
Right.
And yeah, that's where it starts, Jim. It starts with kind of a discovery consultation where, hey, tell us more.
Yeah.
What are you thinking about? What are you dreaming about? What story do you want to share?
Right.
And then what impact do you want it to have and with who?
Yeah.
Once we figure those things out, if we think there's something there, every author that we work with, they start with something called an authority blueprint.
Mm-hmm.
And this is just a way for us to work together, no strings attached, to help them develop what is their executive brand strategy.
Right.
And what is their executive book plan.
Yeah.
So, what's the strategy of your personal brand? And then if you're going to create a book, what is the plan for the book that helps drive the strategy that is building your personal brand? Because we want to make sure those two things are tied together. But the answer to your question is, yeah, there's a lot of diagnostic work that we do on the front end before we can even determine, is there a book there to create with someone?
That's right. I might add that, our President-elect Trump wrote a very, very famous book, The Art of the Deal. And I would also add that he didn't write the book. He had a writer that wrote the book, much along the same lines as what Adam's talking about right now, where there were some interviews. Back then, I don't think we had Zoom, but we had conference calls and what have you. And that's all. That was the role that Donald Trump played in writing the book. He had somebody that wrote the actual book for him. And man, you want to talk about putting him, obviously he was a successful businessman, but what that book did, it was a #1 best-selling book out there. And obviously every single time he was introduced now as the author of, The Art of the Deal. And every business person wanted to get their hands on it. So I'm not saying you're going to become president of the United States because of your book deal, but it will certainly make you the authority in the industry that you're in, without a doubt. And it will help you move not only your company, but also your personal brand forward. So Adam Witty, founder and CEO of Advantage. I'm going to show the information on the screen here as to how to get a hold of Adam, to maybe just bounce some ideas off of him, see if you got a book in you. Maybe 2025 is your year, folks, to write the book. And you don't even have to write the book. Adam makes it extremely easy. So now you got no excuses. These are the kind of solutions that we want to be bringing you here at ASBN. So Adam, thank you so much. Really appreciate all the time you've given us. And best of luck to you in the new year. And hopefully people take my advice and give you a call.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us for another edition of The Small Business Show with Jim Fitzpatrick, exclusively on ASBN.com.